Hi friends, welcome back to another episode of Generation Films. My name is Alan. We've talked a lot about Baby Yoda in the last few months, but no one's really looked into exactly what species Baby Yoda is. From what we can tell, it's a pretty rare species, one that we don't actually have a name in lore for. Over the course of Star Wars history, I've only encountered Baby Yoda species 3 other times. We have Grand Master Yoda and a female version of his species, Yaddle, who also served in the Jedi Order, and then there was Vandar Tok'er, a Jedi Master during the Old Republic era. Now, strictly speaking, Lucasfilm back in the George Lucas days had a really strict policy about not diving into any of the lore or background information about Yoda's species. They even discouraged writers and artists within the expanded universe from exploring Yoda's species. And they wouldn't even confirm that there was in fact an entire species of Yoda-like individuals, which is actually kind of important for the point that I'm about to make. This was a pretty strict policy that resulted even in the cancellation of the publication of an entire set of trading cards, because apparently they had another member of Yoda's species printed on there. Now, luckily, I'm just a fan and I'm free to speculate and talk about whatever I want. Now, obviously, we can just treat Yoda like any other species, pour into endless amounts of lore and try to find some potential connections, but honestly, that's probably not going to turn up anything. You see, I believe that Yoda's species is very different from the rest of the species in the galaxy. Why is that? Well, my theory stems from the fact that every member of Yoda's species is extremely powerful in the Force and has pretty high midichlorian counts. There are Force-sensitive species, and we've seen that before in Star Wars. You have the original Sith. Their entire population was Force-sensitive, but only a very small percentage could be categorized as elite Force users. So for Yoda's species to only include elite level Force users is quite special. Now, I know that 4 subjects is not a big sample size to draw from, but each one of these individuals are a once-in-a-generation talent when it comes to their abilities. Starting off with Yoda, he was clearly the most powerful member of the Jedi Council during the Clone Wars, and had access to skills and powers that lesser Jedi could never achieve. Yaddle also was quite powerful in her own way. She had a very rare and deadly power known as Moritro. This allowed a user to slow an opponent's bodily functions to the point of death. Vandar Tok'er was respected for both his wisdom and also his incredible control over his telekinesis abilities. Then, of course, we had the very young but still very powerful Baby Yoda, who was able to stop a full-grown Mudhorn in his tracks and also stop a flamethrower's jet of burning fuel. These 4 individuals are definitely not normal. Even by Jedi standards, their growth and development and mastery of the Force is far above average. Now, one of the novels that does an excellent job at explaining Force sensitivity and how it works is the Darth Plagueis novel. Darth Plagueis had become obsessed with midichlorians and how they control the living world around them. This all started after he murdered his own master and basically felt his presence leave the world when he died. What Plagueis noticed was that the midichlorians on his master's body would start to die along with the body. This would actually cause the Force to disconnect from an individual. Darth Plagueis would spend the rest of his life trying to figure out how to convince the midichlorians to stay in the body so that life could be sustained. After thousands of trials and failures, Plagueis, with the help of Sidious, managed to bring the dead back to life, a process that he would repeat over and over again. This great success would further encourage Plagueis to do even more unthinkable and unnatural things with the Force, like creating life itself. It was at this point the Cosmic Force, which essentially is the energy that creates and runs everything in the galaxy, began to fight back against Darth Plagueis. The Cosmic Force felt an imbalance between the light and the dark side, and so Darth Plagueis started slowly getting cut off from the Force, and many of the lab specimens in his laboratory started to die from weird illnesses and disease. It should be noted that we have no proof that the Cosmic Force fought against Plagueis. This was kind of his own theory, and in the later years of his life, he had become a recluse and wasn't exactly mentally balanced. Also, anything concerning like the Cosmic Force and whether it's sentient or not is relatively confusing, not very well explained by the canon. But I believe it clearly does have the ability to do things like fight against imbalance, or in the case of Anakin Skywalker, create a being who is extremely powerful in the Force out of nothing. It is possible that Baby Yoda's species is not just a normal species, but one directly connected to the Force. Some Star Wars fans have actually speculated in the past that Yoda is one of the guardians of the Whills, but George Lucas has basically denied that that is a thing. Now, clearly Yoda's species is mortal and is not all-powerful, but perhaps when the cosmic force senses a shift towards the dark side, they might create another one of Yoda's species in order to balance things out. If you think about it, every member of Yoda's species is sort of an agent for the light. Aside from Baby Yoda, they are all members of the Jedi Order, and even Baby Yoda has some pretty strong light side tendencies. Like when he heals Greef Karga's deadly wound. A Sith generally will struggle with regenerating health because the dark side's energy is quite destructive to flesh and blood. Baby Yoda also force chokes a Republic shock trooper, but that was in order to defend his Mando dad from having the bones in his hands from being pulverized. Now, there is no in-world explanation about why we know nothing about Yoda's species. The Jedi hardly seem to ever discuss it or bring it up. It's almost as if no one cares. We're not even sure how old Grand Master Yoda is when he dies. But luckily, we do know when Baby Yoda was born. If he's 50 years old by the time of The Mandalorian, he would have been born then 41 years before the Battle of Yavin. You know what else happened 41 years before the Battle of Yavin? All that really crazy experiment that Darth Plagueis and Darth Sidious managed to pull off when the Force became imbalanced. That also happens to be the same year that Anakin Skywalker was born, and he's accepted by some as the Chosen One, the being created by the cosmic force that kind of calm things down a bit and bring balance to the Force. But I guess it is possible for the cosmic force to create both Anakin Skywalker as well as Baby Yoda, because if you think about it, by the time Anakin dies, Baby Yoda is still a baby, not ready yet to take on the mantle of responsibility of being a chosen one-like figure. Anyway, the date of Baby Yoda's birth most likely isn't a coincidence. Whenever Dave Filoni is involved with the project, there always seems to be more focus on connecting all of that lore together. For the time being, there is really no way to confirm if my theory is true. But hopefully by the end of The Mandalorian, we'll have learned more about the Baby Yoda and how it came to be. But if I were a betting man, I would bet on the fact that Star Wars will milk Baby Yoda for as much green gold as it can. After all, once you destroy the mystique around the Baby Yoda, less people will be interested. Although his cuteness factor probably won't decrease anytime soon. If you think about it, Baby Yoda probably won't even become a teenager until much later in the Mandalorian TV series, if at all. Because Yoda's species doesn't reach adulthood until they're at least 100 years old. This kind of gives Disney the option to build entire film trilogies around the Baby Yoda. Maybe they can skip forward in time and Baby Yoda will encounter his own great threat that he'll have to overcome, and it'll be equal to any other Star Wars baddie, like Vitiate, Bane, or Palpatine. What is important is that Disney has finally created a character that we all universally love. They can forget the sequels and finally start building a new Star Wars around a new character for a new generation. So there you have it, guys. That is my theory on why Yoda's species is so rare. Let me know in the comment section below what you think about my speculation. Anyway, guys, don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification button down below so you don't miss out on the rest of our awesome content. My name is Alan, reminding you that life is a movie and you are the protagonist.